I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a smile on my face while I was watching this Deadpool and Wolverine trailer. Both of these characters have previously existed outside the MCU, and up to this point they haven't been stained by all the nonsense that's been going on over the last 5 years. Obviously they're using what another company successfully built up to fix their own mistakes, but setting aside all the MCU controversy for a second, the one word I would use to describe what this movie looks like is fun.
Damn!
Is it gonna redefine the superhero genre? Probably not. I've learned, just like a lot of other fans have, that it's best to hold back on the praise until we actually see the movie. Whether it's Multiverse of Madness or Quantum Mania, a lot of movies ended up being huge disappointments because fans overhyped the hell out of them based on deceptive trailers. That being said, we're talking about a movie starring Deadpool and Wolverine here. It doesn't have to have an incredibly deep story because that's not why people are going to show up for this movie. The two major reasons people enjoy characters like this is that they're hilarious and the action scenes are absurdly violent. Based on this trailer, the jokes are pretty spot on. Credit where credit is due, they're actually funny, which is extremely rare for the MCU.
Thirdly, eat my hammer!
Ain't never gotta hit me if I'm
Oh, you are way more fun than my last lawyer.
I will kill for you, Megan Thee Stallion.
Dial it back.
And Scooby-Doo this shit.
What a terrible joke!
That joke at the end was pretty good, and hopefully there's a ton more where that came from. The banter between these two sounds like it'll justify the R rating on its own, and something tells me we have Ryan Reynolds to thank for that. The action looks pretty brutal and unlike anything the MCU has ever done before. They're really letting these two loose, so combine that with the humor and you've got something the MCU hasn't had in years: entertainment.
Yes, dude! Fuck yes, dude!
The trailer also teases some major Avengers, but to varying degrees. Now we know Thor shows up from the CinemaCon footage they showed off, and honestly if they could get Chris Hemsworth to come back after the nightmare that was Love and Thunder, nobody is off the table in my opinion. We see Ant-Man's corpse being used as some kind of rebel base, so odds are he won't necessarily be in the movie, and it's just a relic from when the villain took over the planet. The biggest tease in this trailer was of course Doctor Strange with the portal they jump into, but we know any sorcerer could make that, so even though it's strategically placed before the title drop to hype it up, there's no guarantee Strange himself is going to be in this. We all know the rumors about how important Deadpool and Wolverine are going to be in the next Avengers movies. Marvel clearly has big plans for these two, and considering they decided to make this the only 2024 release, we know that at the very least they think of this one as a game changer. For those reasons, I don't think it's smart to rule anything or anyone out of this movie. Marvel knows they need a huge win here, and they need the excitement from this movie to feed into the rest of their projects going forward. Is it reasonable to assume people are going to give a fuck about the Thunderbolts because they love seeing Deadpool and Wolverine? God no, but we're not talking about reasonable people here, we're talking about Marvel.
Where was it you graduated from again? The University of Duh.
As far as Wolverine himself goes, the timeline is pretty messy, so while they do use the 20th Century Fox logo as a set piece, I'm not sure this is the exact Wolverine from the X-Men movies. With how the multiverse works, this could be almost the exact same Wolverine, but instead of his future being what happened in Logan, this villain changes his timeline, creating an alternate version who has the history of the Fox universe, just a different ending. The producers of this movie said Logan is canon and they don't want to ruin that, but it was always a bit unclear how canon Logan was to the X-Men movies. Jackson implied Logan was a standalone movie, so that could mean this is the Wolverine from those original X-Men films. But that's just my comic book nerd brain going into theory overdrive, because the bottom line is, it's still Wolverine. It's important what Wolverine it is in the context of what it means for other characters and events, but for the average moviegoer, it won't make a difference as long as they see him tear some people in half.
I guess I just don't care.
Marvel and their dick-riding Twitter fans are gonna take a lot away from how successful this movie ends up being, but how much of that is really an indication of the state of the MCU, and how much of that is just people wanting to see characters whose success up until this point had nothing to do with the MCU. It's also important to consider what success means here. We just found out how much more expensive Quantum Mania ended up being, and yes, this movie uses a lot more practical sets and effects, but it's already rumored to be in the $250 million range. When all is said and done, who knows how much it'll have to make in order to turn a profit for a company that at this point is digging between junkyard couches in the hopes of even finding a lint-covered penny.
Well, that sounds terrible.
It is terrible.
I want to be very clear, I'm not falling for the trap of, oh, this is gonna save Marvel, all the haters have been wrong. One good movie doesn't undo 5 years of garbage. And as I pointed out plenty of times, the things Marvel has in the works outside of Deadpool look like the same nonsense that got them into this mess to begin with. This movie looks like some funny, action-packed entertainment, but expecting it to save an entire universe from the Grim Reaper is setting it up for failure.